Welcome back to the Association Weekend. Lauren Rosen alongside Drew Hanlon and Dom 2K after Mavs Cavs. And the Mavericks take a 130-120 victory in Cleveland. We're going to get into a recap here in just a second. Drew Hanlon, what stood out to you about these Mavericks figuring out a way to get the upset?
Yeah, they did a lot of the keys that we talked about. We talked about making sure that they ran the other guys, the shooters, off the three-point line, and they did a great job in the second half. We talked about limiting them in the paint, and they did a really good job. We talked about them doing a better job, from the second quarter on Mobley, and they did a great job with that. So I really think that they had a great game plan coming in. You can see the adjustments that they made from Friday night's game, and like we talked about, they're a team that even though they're in the kind of tank race, they're not actively trying to tank. They're trying to build good habits, and I saw some of those habits tonight.
Dom, you were locked in on the Cavs today. Where did they fall just short at home here?
Oh gosh, where do we start? I think I probably counted throughout this game 5 shots I thought Harden could have and should have taken. He really didn't get aggressive until it was a little bit too late. It looks like a nice stat line from Evan Mobley, but he was nowhere near as dominant. And, like Drew said, credit to the Mavs and what they did to stop that. But I definitely thought there were instances where they could have been more forceful with that. They could have ran more of the two-man game that Atkinson was talking about in the press conference. But then, too, you just see – I was watching this game kind of wondering what are things to actually worry about for Cleveland and what is just a March game. And I'm still worried about exactly what I said at the very beginning. They struggle against these teams who have big forwards, who have big mobile players who can score. And because who do you defend that with on the perimeter? It's not Harden. It's not Mitchell. Dean Wade is okay, but not really. They kind of just don't have that guy on the roster. So even if you add Tyson, Merrill to this, or even Jared Allen, they mostly play single big lineups. So yeah, just looking down the road for when they have to play really good teams, I did see a couple of things to worry about.
Dallas was in the driver's seat for pretty much the entire game in Cleveland. A reminder, this was the second of a home and home against the Cavaliers. They played in Dallas, lost, and then went to Cleveland, and the home team loses both in this home and home. So, Drew, a question for you now. As we turn the page and continue to look at the Eastern Conference standings, Dom mentioned it. Cleveland is trying to fight for home court advantage, for good playoff positioning, trying to gel with a new look roster ahead of the postseason. How do you look at things? Is this a game that you can toss out, or is this a game that might be, some signs of needed growth for the Cavaliers?
Well, I think if you're the Cavs, again, you've had a good season. You're still trying to gel with James Harden. You love that Max Strus came back and looked like he did because that was an added surprise. You thought maybe it was going to take some time. He come back and he looked like better than his normal self. It looked like he was just anxiously waiting for this return and did a great job. But the one thing that I've always worried about with the Cavs is having two smaller defenders, like Dom has been mentioning. You talk about last year, two smaller perimeters. The year before, same exact thing. And so Donovan Mitchell is one of those guys that always plays well in the playoffs. Offensively, he's carried a big load, and I think that's why they went and got, a guy like James Harden who could help, kind of be on ball and play make. But those two guys in the backcourt does have some defensive liability issues that the Cavs are going to have to try to figure out a solution for if they want to win the Eastern Conference.
You mentioned Max Strus. He missed the first 67 games of the season rehabbing after foot surgery. He finishes with 24 points, 7 of 9 from the field, 6 for 7 from long range, which of course is where he has made a career for himself. He had 8 rebounds as well and assists. This was a very impressive return performance when there was a lot of pressure on him. Of course, doesn't ultimately make the difference for the Cavs. But Dom, how much can he help them now down the home stretch of the season and into the playoffs?
Oh, he can help them a ton. I think today what we saw where he was a bit of a revolving door on defense, I don't think that's the typical thing. He's not a great defender, but this definitely had a lot to do with legs. So as far as shooting, you saw lineups where specifically for what they had today, they could really only have one guy opens up could actually shoot. And you saw the Mavs kind of kept funneling it that way. You're going to Keon Ellis, who can shoot, but on volume, it's average. So once you get your
this one, Drew, we got to break it down. Cooper Flagg, 27 point, 10 assist double-double. We've talked a lot about the fact that the Mavericks put the ball in his hands early in the season. Today, showing some flashes of perhaps what they wanted to see from him early as a facilitator, just a rookie. How impressive is a performance like this for the Rook?
Yeah, it's so impressive. And like I said earlier, it's one of those things where I think that they were just experimenting early on. You know what I mean? He's so young too. The other day, he was second all time in getting to 1,000 points behind LeBron James, both 19 years and I think like 74 days. He passed up Kobe the other day to be like sixth most 20-point games as a teenager. So he's doing some really impressive things. And like we said, it's early on in his career, but those first 20 games, were kind of like experiment. And since then, he's been really, really good. And I think today is just the growth that he's had over the course of the season.
Dom, keeping things on Coop, he is, of course, a Rookie of the Year favorite. Came into the season a Rookie of the Year favorite before he even played a single minute. But Con Knipple, his college roommate, has been spectacular as well. Who's leading the Rookie of the Year conversation for you now, Dom, having seen what you've seen? There's precedent that they could win it together. What do you think is going to happen here as we have to crown a Rookie of the Year?
Yeah, there's a little bit of time left. Right now, I think the edge still goes to Khan. The Hornets have cooled off a little bit, but with what he's been able to do when that team is actually healthy and helping transform them into an actual serious team, I think he might get the edge because Coop has been good, but it is happening in a season where, this team is now kind of in the lottery. And also he missed a good chunk of time too while Khan was really helping the Hornets. So yeah, 14, 15 games left? There's time, but I'm probably still going Khan at the moment.
We're going to step aside, and when we come back, we'll break down all things Mavs Cavs. And as we like to do here on the association, make sure you get a look at what else is happening in the league. We have a game getting ready to tip off, another one later on this evening. We will bring you through all of it. Lauren Rosen, Dom 2K, and Drew Hanlon. We will be right back. Thanks for being with us here on the association.
It's time to put your money where your mouth is.
Hard Rock Bet is your home to bet on the NBA all season long. The only legal app that lets you bet on the NBA anywhere in Florida. Bet teams, player props, and more with parlays that let you shoot your shot for $1. Points, threes, boards, assists, or whatever you want to bet. Roll with us this NBA season. Plus, new customers double your winnings on your first 10 bets.
How well does Rudy Gobert know Rudy Gobert's career? What's your career high in blocks?
9 blocks.
Against what team? That is correct.
In Chicago. I'll never forget. I was 1 block away from a triple-double. It was like 1 minute left in the game, and he tried to dunk. And I actually blocked it, and he bounced off my fingers, and then he went in.
What season did you lead the NBA in blocks per game?
2017-18.
2016 to 2017, actually. Next up, who's the first player you blocked in the NBA?
I'm not sure.
I'll give you a clue. This player is an MVP of the league.
Kevin Durant.
James Harden, actually.
James Harden
was your first block in the NBA. That's a pretty good player to block for out of your first block.
Okay. I have no idea.
You're one of 3 players in NBA history to win Defensive Player of the Year 4 times. Do you know the other 2?
Yes. It's Ben Wallace and Dikembe Mutombo.
That is correct.
Welcome back to the Association Weekend here on NBA TV and the NBA app. Alongside Drew Hanlon and Dom 2K, I'm Lauren Rosen, getting back into our post-game coverage of Mavs Cavs and then starting to look around the league. So the Dallas Mavericks get the upset, 130-120 final score from Cleveland. Cooper Flagg becomes the 4th teenager in NBA history, guys, to record a game with at least 25 points, at least 10 assists, at least 5 rebounds. Drew, your thoughts on Coop's day here in Cleveland?
Yeah, I mean, today was really impressive. We talked about the growth all season long. I love his competitiveness. I love the way that he competes every single night. And I think that's what his real main skill is. I think that a lot of people kind of highlight his lack of shooting early on this season and how much jump shot can take him to the next level. But the thing that stands out for me is just his competitiveness on both sides of the ball. And so while those numbers are more highlighting his offensive success, I think he's been really good defensively this season as well. And so, if I'm a Mavs fan, obviously I still have a hurt heart from the trade that sent away Luka, but I see the promise that he has, and I really have excitement on what they can build around him, especially if they get one of those top picks in this year's draft.
Yeah, Drew, no doubt. What a 13-month period it's been for the Dallas Mavericks organization and fans. But the next 13 months and beyond looking like they're going to be pretty exciting with Cooper Flagg in the fold. And no one knows him better than head coach Jason Kidd addressing reporters post-game. Let's listen now.
On defense, and then looking at just the offense of what he gives us offensively was something that we needed.
What do you think of that shot making by Max Strus?
Oh, he was good tonight. 6 for 7 from 3, being out as long as he was. I thought we all thought he might be a little rusty. That was wrong. He looked really good. It looked like he'd been playing all season. Yeah, Najee handling ball decision, being the second or third handler out there with Ryan and Coop definitely helps. But I thought his ability to roll for our guys to be able to find one another, I thought the ball moved a lot more than it has here in the past.
How helpful were guard-to-guard screens in creating that movement? It seemed like you had a lot of success playing with those.
Yeah, I think being able to look at what Cleveland did to us, we felt that maybe we could look at doing that tonight. And so playing PJ, a small 5, being able to stretch, having him in the corner or above the break, trying to get Mobley away from the basket due to his, he's a great defender. And so understanding the small was really good, and hopefully we can build on this.
What did you see defensively with PJ at the 5? It seemed like that helped create some disruption.
Yeah, I think great hands. Maybe underestimated for shot blocking, but again, being able to rebound the ball for us tonight. He had a double-double, and so being able to help, because that's something that we've struggled with here of late, is being able to rebound the ball, giving up offensive rebounds, and so he really did a great job for us tonight.
And then what are you seeing from Cooper as a passer? It seems like he's been able to really take advantage of other teams.
Yeah, I think he understands how to play the game, and playmaking is something here of late that he's been able to do, find his teammates, and being able to drive, understand that he's going to see a crowd, and so for that he understands that someone's open, and he's making all the right decisions right now. We have no idea. We'll let you know come game time what we look like, but most likely could be a change, maybe not a change. It's hard to keep it in 2 in a row. Good question. All right, thanks.